These are the faces of some of the most infamous teenage criminals in US history. Young individuals whose crimes left a trail of devastation. From ruthless robberies to horrific murders, their actions not only shocked their communities, but also led them to death row. What drove these teenagers to commit such heinous acts, and what were their final words before the end? This is a young 22-year-old teenage man who showed no remorse for killing coldly and brutally. Steven Judy. On April 28, 1979, Steven committed a brutal crime in Indiana by kidnapping 21-year-old Terry Chastain and her 3 children, Misty, 5, Steven, 4, and Mark, 2, under the false pretense of offering a ride. But after pulling over, Judy separated Terry from her children, raped her mercilessly, and then strangled her to death with her own clothes. He wasn't done yet. He then proceeded to drown her 3 children in a nearby creek. In covering his crime, or what could we call that? It didn't take long. After hours of the crime, Judy was arrested, and with all evidence he confessed to the crimes. The shocking statement he made was, he would kill again if given the chance. I think that was one vital point that left the jury no choice but to sentence him to death by lethal injection. On March 9th, 1981, at the age of 24, he was executed at Indiana State Prison in Michigan City, Indiana. His final words were, "I will die with peace in my heart." Elijah Page. Elijah Page was 18 years old when he became involved in one of the most disturbing crimes in South Dakota's history. On March 12, 2000, Page, along with 2 accomplices, kidnapped 19-year-old Chester Poage at gunpoint. They tortured Poage for hours before ultimately killing him. The abuse was brutal. Poage was beaten, forced to drink acid, and stabbed multiple times. The crime was chilling, and Page showed no remorse for what he had done. After the murder, Page and his accomplices fled the scene, but it didn't take long for the authorities to apprehend them. Elijah Page was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. Page made a decision that would shape the course of his case. He chose not to appeal his sentence, and instead, he accepted his fate. This was a decision that shocked many, but it ultimately led to his execution. On July 11, 2007, at the age of 25, Elijah Page was executed by lethal injection at South Dakota State Penitentiary. In his final moments, he said, "I am sorry for what I did." Tony Fry. He was just 19 years old when he did the unthinkable. On February 21, 1994, Fry, along with his 17-year-old accomplice, lured 42-year-old Leland Jacobs from his place of employment in Chesterfield County, Virginia. Jacobs, a car salesman, was led to a secluded area under the false pretense of a potential car sale. Once there, Fry shot Jacobs 11 times with a .22 caliber firearm. The murder didn't end there. Fry tied Jacobs to the bumper of a vehicle using his necktie and dragged him for 777 feet down a dirt road. What kind of mindset drives someone to carry out such a violent act? The cruelty of the crime left the community in disbelief. After being arrested, Fry confessed to the murder, and his actions were seen as particularly brutal. The evidence was overwhelming, and in 1999, after years of legal proceedings, Tony Fry was executed by lethal injection on February 4, 1999, at the age of 23 at Greensville Correctional Center, Virginia. Fry made his last words brief. He said, "I'm sorry for what I did. I hope you find peace." Stephen Edward Roach. On December 3, 1993, Roach murdered his 70-year-old neighbor, Mary Ann Hughes, in Stanardsville, Virginia. Roach shot Hughes once in the head at her home, and the murder was discovered the following day when a customer entered the dry cleaners where she worked. Roach fled the scene, but authorities tracked him down just a few days later. After his arrest, Roach confessed to the murder, but offered no clear explanation for his actions. He stated that he didn't know why he had killed Hughes. The brutality of the crime and the fact that Roach was only a teenager led to his conviction. Despite his age, Roach was sentenced to death. After years of legal battles, Stephen Roach was executed by lethal injection on January 13, 2000, at the age of 23. His final words were simple: "No, sir, I have nothing to say." Napoleon Beazley. It was April 19, 1994, when Beazley, along with two accomplices, planned to steal a Mercedes-Benz. They targeted John Luttig, a 63-year-old businessman, who was arriving home and parked his car in his garage. Beazley approached Luttig and shot him at point-blank range, killing him instantly. Luttig's wife, who was also present, survived by pretending to be dead. After the murder, Beazley and his accomplices fled in the stolen car. Within hours, the police apprehended Beazley, and he was soon convicted of capital murder. Despite his age and the emotional turmoil surrounding the case, Beazley was sentenced to death. His case sparked controversy, especially due to his young age and the fact that he showed little remorse for the crime. Napoleon Beazley was executed by lethal injection on May 28, 2002, at the age of 25, at Huntsville Unit, Texas. His last words were, "The act I committed to put me here was not just heinous, it was senseless. But the person that committed that act is no longer here. I'm sorry for what happened here tonight, not just for me, but for what's happening to me. I'm disappointed that a system that is supposed to protect and uphold what is just and right can be so much like me when I made the same shameful mistake. I am at peace with myself." J. Pinkerton. At just 17 years old, J. Pinkerton committed a series of brutal crimes that would forever change his life and the lives of his victims. On October 26, 1979, Pinkerton broke into the home of Sarah Dawn Lawrence, a 30-year-old woman in Amarillo, Texas, with the intent to rob her. However, the crime quickly escalated when Pinkerton sexually assaulted her, then stabbed her over 30 times in a brutal attack. Only a year later, in 1980, he would strike again, this time killing Sherry Welch, a 25-year-old woman working at a furniture store in a similar violent fashion. His crimes went unpunished for months, but Pinkerton was eventually arrested after a bloody handprint was found at Sarah Lawrence's crime scene, which led to his conviction. Pinkerton was sentenced to death for his actions, and after several failed appeals, J. Pinkerton was executed by lethal injection on May 15, 1986, at the age of 24, at Huntsville Unit, Texas. Unlike others, Pinkerton's final meal consisted of 2 cheeseburgers with fries, onions, lettuce, tomatoes, pickles, ketchup, mustard, and mayonnaise, along with a cola. When asked for his last words, he said, "Be strong for me. I want you to know that I'm at peace with myself and with my God. I talked to everyone on the phone. Got to talk to Mum. Tell Mum goodbye. Keep your spirits up for me." Jesse De La Rosa. At the age of 18, Jesse De La Rosa was sentenced to death for a crime that involved a robbery gone horribly wrong. On April 23, 1985, De La Rosa and an accomplice attempted to rob a convenience store in Texas. The robbery was poorly planned. After struggling with the cash register, they only managed to steal a 6-pack of beer. However, in the process, Masoud Ghazali, a 27-year-old store clerk, was shot and killed. De La Rosa claimed he did not pull the trigger, but he refused to name the person who did, further complicating the investigation. Despite his attempts to deny full responsibility, he was convicted and sentenced to death. His trial raised many questions, especially with the lack of physical evidence linking De La Rosa directly to the shooting. And after several years on death row, Jesse De La Rosa was executed by lethal injection on May 15, 1985, at the age of 24, at Huntsville Unit, Texas. His final words were, "I didn't do it, but I accept responsibility for it. I'm sorry for the pain I caused." T.J. Jones. He was just 17 years old when he became involved in a horrific crime that could leave you wondering how such a young life can spiral so quickly. On December 14, 1985, T.J. Jones shot and killed 75-year-old Willard Davis during an attempted car theft. Jones claimed his intention was to scare Davis with the gun, but forensic evidence made it clear that the shooting was deliberate. What makes Jones's case so troubling is the complexity surrounding his age and mental health. Despite a low IQ and struggles with his psychological well-being, Jones was convicted and sentenced to death. His age alone raised questions about his ability to fully understand the consequences of his actions. Jones was executed by lethal injection on August 8, 2008, at the age of 25, at Huntsville Unit, Texas. When asked for his final words, Jones expressed remorse. "I'm sorry for what I did. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I hope that one day the family can forgive me." After his death, his case continues to spark debate over the justice system's handling of young offenders, especially those with mental health challenges. Scott Carpenter. He was just 19 years old when he committed a crime that would make him the youngest person ever executed in the United States since the death penalty was reinstated. On February 6, 1994, Scott Carpenter, along with his accomplice, carried out a robbery at a convenience store in Oklahoma. The robbery took a tragic turn when Carpenter fatally stabbed A.J. Kelly, the 56-year-old store owner. The crime was sudden and violent, and Carpenter's actions left a lasting impact on Kelly's family. After being arrested, Carpenter expressed little remorse and eventually accepted his fate. Scott was sentenced to death for A.J. Kelly's murder, and after years of legal battles, he was executed by lethal injection on May 7, 1997, at the age of 22, at Oklahoma State Penitentiary. He said, "I wish my family could have seen me in a better light." If you found this story thought-provoking, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life stories. And remember, justice is a story that never truly ends. Thanks for watching.